Many people feel they know the British royal family well, but King Charles's recent decision has surprised everyone. Buckingham Palace plans to replace its famous red uniformed guards with human-like robots, a move that feels like a scene in a science fiction movie. Could this one decision change how people view the royal family for good? Are these robotic guards about to change royal history and make people rethink tradition? Join us as we take a closer look at the surprising move that is changing the future of Britain's monarchy. Some royal guards would soon be robots. King Charles made a surprise announcement that nobody expected. Buckingham Palace said they are getting robot guards to protect the royal palace. The news started in Britain and spread around the world quickly. People who like royal traditions were shocked, and technology lovers were just as surprised. The palace normally keeps old ways of doing things, so using robots as guards feels like a big change, and no one thought the royal family would do anything like this. People reacted fast and had big opinions about this news. TV reporters, online writers, and newspapers jumped on the story quickly. Crowds gathered at the palace gates. Some people were just curious, but others seemed upset by the idea. Social media exploded with fights, jokes, and people making predictions about what would happen next. The news really bothered people because the royal guards do more than just stand at gates.
And where you can watch the changing of the guard ceremony, which happens at 11 o'clock most days.
For hundreds of years, these guards have upheld order, respect, and long-standing customs. Their red uniforms and serious expressions stick in the memory of every tourist and British person who has watched them stay completely still, despite all the noise and chaos around them. The idea of swapping out these real human guards for robots means messing with a tradition that spans many generations. However, behind the traditions, there is a big conflict between keeping things the way they have always been and moving forward with new technology. On one hand, people love history, real human guards, wearing their red and black uniforms. On the other side, robots might do the job better, work faster, and never mess up. This announcement forced these two different ideas to face off against each other. Now the whole country has to make a hard choice. Are they watching something precious get destroyed, or are they seeing the beginning of something completely new in royal history? The royal machines. The main part of this big change is the robot guard itself. They are not just basic metal machines that look fake. These robots would be built to look and move almost exactly like real people. They can follow complicated orders, move smoothly, and figure out what's happening around them right away. The technology would be so good that when someone looks at these robots, it would be hard to tell if they are looking at a person or a machine. The difference would be almost impossible to spot. The new robotic guards were built through years of work by scientists and technology companies from the United Kingdom and other countries. Teams in robotics, artificial intelligence, and security spent a long time developing the systems behind the scenes. Now that King Charles has made the announcement, their work is getting public attention.
She had a lot of ingredients that Charles really fell in love with, and he never really fell out of love with her, so it is.
And companies that were mostly known in research laboratories are now being mentioned alongside the royal family, something that would have sounded unlikely not long ago. These robotic guards are not just built to look impressive. They come equipped with facial recognition systems that can scan thousands of faces in seconds, spotting threats faster than any human could. Their movements are built for speed and balance, so they can march in sync or react quickly if something goes wrong. Built-in defense features let them handle security issues on the spot, making them both symbolic figures and high-tech protectors. Unlike factory robots or war drones, these humanoids are built to look and act like proper royal guards. Why did King Charles decide to embark on this remarkable project? Why the change was made? The choice to put robot guards at Buckingham Palace did not just happen randomly. There are worries about how dangerous the world has become. With more terrorist attacks and computer hackers targeting important places, governments everywhere are changing how they handle security. The royal family has always been a target for protesters and dangerous people, so they can't ignore these new threats anymore. King Charles made this announcement because the palace needs better protection, not just because he wanted to try something new. The decision sounds shocking, but it's actually based on the very real dangers that exist today. Safety is not the only reason for this change.
Enter Charles III, accompanied by Queen Consort Camilla.
There is also the money side of things. Human guards need training, regular paychecks, health insurance, and lots of other support to do their jobs properly. Robot guards are more expensive, but they can work for years without needing salaries, sick days, or retirement funds. They never get tired and do not need breaks. Even though buying these robots costs a lot at first, the royal family will save money over time. Human guards also have problems that robots don't have. Even the best trained guards get tired, lose focus, or reach their physical limits. They need breaks and days off and can't stand in one spot for hours without getting worn out. These are just basic human needs that can't be changed, no matter how much tradition matters. Robot guards never get tired, don't need sleep, and stay alert all the time. When security problems happen fast, having guards that never lose focus gives protection that human guards simply can't provide, no matter how dedicated they are. The main reason behind this choice is that King Charles wants the royal family to change with modern times.
Acting as an ambassador for the society, she attended the World Congress on Osteoporosis in Lisbon.
Instead of staying stuck in the past, since becoming king, he has tried to update how the monarchy looks and works by bringing in new technology and caring about the environment. By choosing robot guards, he is showing that the royal family is not just an old museum piece. Instead, it's an organization that can change, try new things, and even surprise people, if that's what it takes to survive in today's fast-changing world. Now the debate is whether mixing tradition with technology changes what the royal guards stand for. This change toward technology in royal life goes beyond security and into art. Would robots now replace traditional painters in the palace? Robot paints royal portrait. Royal painting might also be affected because of a new artwork called Algorithm King. This piece could show how kings and queens will be painted in the future, and it's completely different from how royal portraits have been made for hundreds of years. The painting is a big change from the traditional methods that artists have always used when creating pictures of monarchs and other important royal family members. The creator of this groundbreaking artwork is Ida, a complex robot built specifically to make art through advanced technology and exact mechanical movements. While human artists use brushes and add their own personal style to paintings, Ada works differently by mixing computer programs with a robotic arm that puts oil paint straight onto canvas. This allows her to create detailed pictures of the people she paints without relying on human creativity or artistic interpretation like traditional painters do. King Charles made history when he became the first British king to sit for a robot artist. Ida painted his portrait using a complex system that combines several different technologies. The robot has cameras built into her head where eyes would normally be, which lets her look at King Charles and study his features while she watches him.
And where are those displays? Are they all over the world, or do they tend to be in the British Isles?
So the majority in the British Isles, but
She also figures out exactly how to move her robotic arm to put the right paint in the right spots on the canvas. This builds on what Ida did before when she painted Queen Elizabeth II in 2022 for her Platinum Jubilee celebration. Since both royal portraits turned out well, it looks like robot-made art could become a normal or even popular way to create pictures of important people. This might completely change how future generations see their leaders through art. Instead of human artists painting kings and queens, robots might take over this job and become the standard way to capture what these important figures look like for history books and museums. Robot artists painting royalty got people talking, but robot guards protecting the royal family made everyone have much stronger feelings about it. The argument about these mechanical guards spread far beyond Britain as people from other countries started forming their own thoughts about this big change. What did other nations think about Britain's decision to use robots for royal security? The different voices online. People across Britain had completely different feelings when they first heard about robot guards protecting the royal family. Some citizens felt proud that their country was embracing new technology and saw this change as proof that the monarchy could stay relevant in today's world. Others became upset and angry and posted that the palace had thrown away important traditions just to create a spectacle, arguing that machines could never match the honor and dignity that real soldiers bring to their duty. Behind the scenes, sources close to the palace suggested that Queen Camilla had been particularly fascinated by artificial intelligence developments and had been encouraging King Charles to consider how technology could modernize royal operations. People in different parts of the world reacted in their own unique ways to this announcement. In the United States, most people saw it as a bold and impressive move toward innovation, and praised Britain for taking such a big step into the future. European countries had mixed feelings, with some critics worrying that Britain might be sacrificing its cultural heritage.
My brother, who founded the charity, I think if he saw all these elephants now scattering
in exchange for cold technological efficiency. Countries like Japan and South Korea, where robots are already part of everyday life, responded with admiration, as if Britain had finally decided to catch up with technological changes that other nations had already accepted years ago. International media outlets began speculating about Queen Camilla's role in modernizing the monarchy, with several tech magazines featuring her on their covers as the Queen who embraces tomorrow. Queen Camilla became a frequent subject of these online discussions, with some praising her forward-thinking approach, while others created memes showing her as a robot queen controlling an army of mechanical servants. The internet's power to turn any news story into both entertainment and criticism meant that these robots became as much a cultural talking point as they were a serious political and security issue. While Camilla was adjusting to using robots in the palace, Charles was focused on a different view of how machines should be used. This has raised questions about whether they have different ideas on how the royal family should handle changes in technology. Charles is the champion of traditional design. King Charles has often said that using artificial intelligence and automated design in architecture can be interesting but boring. He thinks these tools create buildings that feel empty and don't reflect what people really need. When designs are based only on data and efficiency, they can miss the human touch that makes a place feel like home. He supports new classical architecture because he believes older methods understand people better than machines do. He's concerned that relying too much on technology will lead to buildings that feel lifeless and disconnected from the communities around them. Back in 1984, King Charles gave a well-known speech criticizing a planned extension to the National Gallery in London, calling it a monstrous carbuncle. He was unhappy with modern buildings that focus too much on glass, concrete, and sharp angles. He questioned why everything had to be tall, rigid, and built only for function. Today, he would likely say that designs made by artificial intelligence make these problems worse. He is concerned that focusing only on cost and efficiency leads to buildings that ignore beauty and comfort. He believes local communities should help shape how their neighborhoods look.
In recognition of her own loyal public service since our marriage 17 years ago,
And that design should be based on real human needs, not just what software says is practical or profitable. Charles helped design a building and garden at the Oxford Center for Islamic Studies using ideas from Islamic art and architecture. He made sure the project showed how traditional skills and cultural knowledge can shape spaces in ways that artificial intelligence can't replicate. In his 1989 book, A Vision of Britain, he shared his views on architecture, saying that older methods should guide modern building, instead of letting machines treat design like a math problem. Even though some believe AI can fix housing issues more quickly and at a lower cost, he still supports planning that focuses on people and believes not everything can, or should,
sort of 20 miles an hour. And, working every hour that the day gives.
Be handled by technology. Two of Charles's charities, the Prince's Regeneration Trust and the Prince's Foundation for Building Community, joined forces to support his ideas about building communities without depending on artificial intelligence. Poundbury is the most well-known example of this approach, showing that older styles of town planning can still work well today. Nansleden is a newer project that mixes classic design with modern features, without letting machines take over the process. In 2007, Charles helped buy Dumfries House with a £20 million loan. He turned it into a museum and training center that teaches traditional skills and things. This led to the development of Knockroon, a neighborhood built with people in mind, not computer-generated plans. Charles spent a lot of time working on community projects, showing that he liked to be directly involved in making things better. But this was not the only thing he cared about. His support for traditional ways of building and designing also led him to focus on the environment. He started speaking up about protecting nature long before it became a common topic. What made him take action so early, when most people weren't even thinking about it yet? Charles goes green. Long before environmental awareness became mainstream, Charles was already championing the cause of protecting the planet, starting his green journey back in the 70s when most people barely thought about such issues. At just 21 years old, he delivered his very first speech about environmental concerns while serving as chairman of the Welsh Countryside Committee, showing that his passion for nature and conservation began remarkably early in his life. His commitment to environmental causes has only grown stronger over the decades, and he has consistently used his platform to raise awareness about the urgent need to protect the world for future generations. Charles got into gardening after taking over the Highgrove estate in 1980.
Acting as an ambassador for the society, she attended the World Congress on Osteoporosis in Lisbon.
Working directly with the land helped shape his view that people should work with nature, not against it. He is known for saying he talks to plants and trees, believing that this kind of connection helps people understand the natural world better. His gardening style isn't just about growing things, it's about creating spaces that support both nature and people. One example is the healing garden he helped design for the Chelsea Flower Show in 2002, which used patterns and symbols from old traditions to build a peaceful and meaningful environment. After moving into Highgrove House, Charles became interested in organic farming and started learning all he could about sustainable agriculture. This led to the launch of Duchy Originals in 1990, a brand that now offers over 200 organic products. By 2010, it had raised more than £6 million for the Prince's charities. Charles often talks with farmers to understand their work, showing that his interest in farming is practical and focused on supporting those who work the land. He has spoken out against genetically modified crops, saying they could cause problems for both people and the environment. In 1998, he wrote to Prime Minister Tony Blair to share his concerns about how these crops might affect traditional farming. He still supports organic farming and methods that work with nature, not try to control it. He believes this approach is a better and safer way to grow food while taking care of the planet. How much of the intense media coverage he faced was actually about his beliefs versus his personal life? Charles under media spotlight. From the moment Charles was born, cameras and reporters have followed his every move, and this media attention has only grown stronger as he has gotten older and taken on more public responsibilities. The relationship between Charles and the press has been complicated and often difficult, shaped largely by his two marriages to Diana and later to Camilla. Along with all the drama and controversy that surrounded both relationships, the media has also been fascinated by how Charles might behave once he becomes king, constantly analyzing his words and actions for clues about what kind of monarch he will be and whether he will continue speaking his mind as freely as he has throughout his life. During the late 70s, Charles was famously called the world's most eligible bachelor, but when he married Diana, she quickly became the star, while he found himself pushed into the background by her incredible popularity and charm. After Diana's tragic incident, the media became even more aggressive in pursuing Charles, regularly invading his privacy and publishing embarrassing stories about his personal life that made him sad. When reporters asked him during a 70th birthday interview whether he would continue expressing his strong opinions once he became king, Charles mentioned that he understood the difference between being a prince and being a king, and said that he would change his approach because he was not stupid, and he realized that being king required different behavior. Despite the often negative press coverage, Charles has also received recognition for his personal style and influence, earning praise from fashion magazines and designers who admire his commitment to traditional British clothing. In 2009, Esquire magazine named him the world's best-dressed man, and British GQ called him the true guardian of traditional British menswear in 2012, while Italian designer Donatella Versace described him as an archetype of style. More recently, publications have recognized his broader influence, with the New Statesman naming him the fourth most powerful right-wing figure in 2023 and calling him a romantic traditionalist, while Time magazine included him among the 100 most influential people of that same year. Public opinion about Charles has changed over the years, showing how complex his relationship with the British people really is, and how much it has changed since he became king. A 2018 poll found that 46% of Britons wanted Charles to step aside immediately when his mother passed so that William could become king instead. But by 2021, his approval rating had improved to 60% favorable. When Charles actually became king, his initial popularity stood at 42%, but more recent polling shows that his approval has continued to rise since taking the throne. As of August 2025, Charles enjoys majority support with 59% approval, and 62% of the public believes he is doing a good job as king, suggesting that many of the earlier concerns about his reign have been put to rest. His rising popularity might be connected to people finally understanding the true scope of his charitable efforts and community impact. What role has his long history of philanthropy played in changing how the British people see their new king? Charles's charitable empire grows. In 1976, after leaving the Royal Navy, Charles used his £7,500 severance pay to start the Prince's Trust. That move laid the groundwork for a large network of charities. Over time, he set up 16 more groups under the name Prince's Charities, now the biggest multi-focus charity organization in the United Kingdom. Together, they raise over £100 million each year to support areas like education, youth programs, the environment, and ethical business. Since 1979, the King Charles III Charitable Fund has given more than £73 million to different causes, showing his strong commitment to helping others. By September 2020, the Prince's Trust had helped over 1 million young people and supported the launch of 125,000 new businesses. Charles also served as patron or president of more than 800 charities while he was Prince of Wales, reaching nearly every area of charitable work. These efforts gave many people access to funding, training, and chances they wouldn't have had otherwise, leading to real changes in communities across the country. He saw the need to expand his charitable work beyond the United Kingdom, so he set up international branches to reach more people. In 2010, Prince's Charities Canada was launched, using the same approach as the original organization. During visits to Canada, he highlighted issues like youth support, disability rights, the environment, arts, health research, elderly care, heritage, and education. He also started Prince's Charities Australia in Melbourne to manage projects across Australia and other regions, helping his efforts make a difference in communities around the world. Over the years, Charles has supported many efforts to tackle major social problems. In 1998, he and his sons took part in events for the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. He also spoke out against the human rights violations under Romanian leader Nicolae Ceausescu. After Ceausescu was removed, Charles backed the Farah Foundation, which helps orphans and abandoned children in Romania. He's also supported causes in Israel, including a private donation to the Peres Center for Peace and Innovation in 2020. How would his long experience as a humanitarian leader shape his approach to being king? Charles finally becomes king. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away on September 8, 2022, Charles immediately became king after waiting longer than any heir apparent in British history. He had already broken Edward VII's previous record of 59 years back in April 2011, making his journey to the throne an exceptionally long one that lasted over 7 decades. At 73 years old, Charles also became the oldest person ever to inherit the British throne, surpassing William IV, who was 64 when he became king back in 1830. This historic transition is the end of the longest reign in British history, and the beginning of a new chapter under a king who had spent most of his life preparing for this moment. The day after his mother passed away, Charles gave his first speech as the new monarch at 6 p.m. He honored her memory and announced that his oldest son, William, would take on the title of Prince of Wales. The next day, the Accession Council officially declared Charles as king in a ceremony that was broadcast for the first time in British history. Queen Camilla, Prince William, Prime Minister Liz Truss, and 6 former prime ministers were present. Similar announcements were made by local officials across the United Kingdom and in other places that recognize the British monarch. Charles and Camilla were crowned at Westminster Abbey on May 6, 2023, after years of planning under the codename Operation Golden Orb. Reports said Charles wanted the event to be simpler and more modern than his mother's 1953 coronation. The plan was to make it shorter, smaller, less costly, and more inclusive of different faiths and communities to reflect Britain's diversity. Even with these updates, the ceremony still followed Church of England traditions, including the oath, anointing, crowning, presentation of royal items, and enthronement. 2 months later, they attended a Thanksgiving service in Scotland, where Charles received the honours of Scotland at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. What do you think about King Charles replacing the royal guards with robots at Buckingham Palace? What do you think this shocking move means for the future of the monarchy? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.